It's unfortunate and it's disappointing that we're at a stage where I think I'm probably the 13th MHK or minister that either Manx Radio or Paul Moulton on his TV programme have interviewed about the promenade. And, clearly we should not be in this situation. We should be delivering these projects, having really planned well ahead of the impacts of a major project like this, dealt with the impacts on business, ensured that we had the plans in place to help then support those businesses through the works.
Most people would think that was going to happen anyway.
And we should have absolute confidence that the project is working on time and to schedule.
Shouldn't that have happened anyway?
Yeah, look. I think in Treasury we've had concerns about the delivery of major projects for some time in terms of how they are being conducted, the transparency around them. I think what the promenade now is saying to us is that having departments run these major projects in isolation really is not good enough. I think that we feel there's a need for a major projects unit or a central projects unit to put more rigour and cross-government working into these major projects, ensure that we're actually testing the water more thoroughly before we enter it and start and commence the work. So over the summer, we're actually going to be putting together a plan, effectively a white paper that we're going to take to the Council of Ministers, and I hope to Tynwald to seek support to get a central and major projects unit created in the centre, which can work across government to put more rigour into the examination of the project in terms of its planning, its implementation, work with departments to make it happen, and bring more transparency in terms of reporting, in terms of both the progress and the value that's been achieved from the project overall.
Of course, you're being brought into this promenade scheme because of the calls from businesses for compensation. I know that's being looked at by infrastructure and also the Department for Enterprise, but inevitably the buck's going to stop at Treasury, isn't it?
Well, and we're going to have to, we'll be sitting down with both departments next week to discuss this. And clearly, my point is it's really unfortunate that we've reached this stage. This should have happened beforehand. We should have been crystal clear in terms of how we were going to help and support businesses, and rightly so. They've got a major project, a 3-year project or so on their doorstep. There were clearly going to be impacts. And we should have worked out how we were going to manage and deal with those, rather than with, in hindsight and on the back foot, now having to understand what the issues are. Treasury are going to have to understand what the issues are and how we can find a mechanism to help support those businesses that may be in trouble as a result of this.
What are you going to say to the businesses in Ramsey, in Peel, in Port Erin and in Castletown who've also, over the past few years, had regeneration projects that have gone on for nearly a year in most cases and have affected their businesses? Well, are you opening the floodgates here?
Well, this is why we're going to have to look at it very carefully. One would immediately sort of, I guess, argue that they've been on a different scale and the impacts have probably been not to the same degree. And in other words, people have still had to go in and access the services in those localities. They're on a slightly different scale to what you're seeing in Douglas, and of course the length of time that's being applied here. But look, we will have to take a lot of evidence from the departments concerned, the Department of Infrastructure, the Department for Enterprise, and just understand a bit more about A, what's happening, B, what is being done at the moment to help support those businesses, whether any support is in place at all. C, get a realistic appraisal of what impacts are actually being happening, and then of course we'll have to make a decision as to if and how they can be better supported going forward.